I met Kobe Bryant when I was in high school. He said that basketball was 70% mental, 30% physical. It's never been more true.
This is 70-30 with Thomas Viglianco.
We are here on 70-30. Another episode. On the way here, we're sitting down with Nebraska's own Connor Essegian, the sharpshooter, the transfer in from Wisconsin, the baseball player when he was young in life, the social media influencer. We have a lot of I guess hashtags we could put behind Connor Essegian. Was happy to have him on the podcast to talk all things development, shooting, grown up, his daily vitamins with basketball, his faith, and all things. So, Connor, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. This is gonna be a good time.
Well, I want to jump right into it. Shooting. For the ones that know me, I was a shooter. I was a 3-point shooter. Shot in the high 40s, mid 40s. A lot of my pro career, and some in college. What are your thoughts, or what are your takes on shooting a basketball, mechanical wise? Are you a feet squared up guy? Are you hands always on the seams? Are you a hold the fall through, drop your hands? Are you eyes on the rim, not on the rim? What would you say maybe is your top 4 or 5 or 6 things that you would say if you were teaching a young kid shooting?
For me, something that I'm able to do that I learned as I got better was I'm really good at being able to find the seams a lot better. Either watching the pass come in and being able to position my hands, or kind of flipping it pretty quick in my hands before I kind of let it go. That's one for me. I really like to shoot with the seams. I feel like if I can get the seams, then it's got a pretty good shot of going in. For me, sometimes I struggle with keeping the follow through and pulling it down too early. So if I'm able to stick it, that follow through, usually it's pretty good too. That's something that obviously the last game I watched and I was pulling down a little bit early. So something like that too. I'm not necessarily feet square to the rim. Actually, I'm just a little bit to the left.
Okay.
When I first started out, I was actually really heavy left, and as I got older and got stronger, I was able to kind of pull it in, because usually, I wanted that right shoulder to be closer to the rim. It's what I really think started that.
Okay. What about eyes? Do you look at anything?
After I release, I watch the ball, because it kind
Do
of
you
helps
really?
me give like a natural lean that kind of, I don't know. It's just something that I always do. I always watch the ball once I release it. Yeah.
So I'm getting on the seams part. I know we're breaking this stuff down, but this is why I love talking this kind of stuff. I am a huge seams guy, but like I just done it a millions and millions of times. Like I just naturally, as that ball hits my hands, wherever
Mhm.
usually I want a good pass. And
Yeah.
playing in the college and pro level, you usually should be getting a good pass. But if it's not, or it's just a little bit off, I just naturally move my hands. It's just like riding a bike for me.
Yeah.
Where when I try to teach that, it's just hard. It's all about reps.
Yeah.
So I couldn't agree more on the seams part. Um, Sticking it, I use that word all the time when I'm teaching, whether it's the pro guys or young kids. Use holding that follow through, because I see so many players, they drift, they drop those hands quick, and usually when you drop, from what I've seen over all these years, is you start leaning back or you start drifting or whatever, which I'm not a big fan of. Um, Feet squared. I'm a feet squared guy, but over my years, I think having your feet a little turn's fine. I just want you to land towards the hoop as best we can, not turn even more, because then your body starts going the same way with it even more.
Yeah. I
That
agree
makes
with that part for sure. If I start falling away or jumping to the side, that's when it really gets messed up.
And then eyes on the ball. That's an interesting one. I'm a front of the rim guy. I'm trying to go right over the front of the rim. I used to look back of the rim, but then I like literally would hit the back of the rim all the time. I'm like, well, that's not working. So I try to go over the front of the rim as much as I can. But there's a few guys, Isaiah Roby, who I've worked with for years, obviously played in the NBA for many years. Now he's over in Germany, former Husker. He looks at the ball quite a bit, which to me, at the end of the day, if that's, the make or break, I think you look at the ball and it's fine.
Yeah.
Um, what what do you do as far as maybe a daily during the season and or off season shooting wise? I know you shoot a ton. The guys on the team that I know are always like, man, he's always in shooting. He's shooting. He's always on the gun, or he's always out there doing stuff on the court. Is there anything that you try to do when it comes to shooting?
Right now during season, it's a little bit more laid back. It's more just kind of reps, just kind of making sure I'm doing the little things right. That's when I get on the gun a lot more. Like today before I came in, it was just 425 shots, just really just catch and shoot out of the gun.
Say that again. How many?
425.
425
Yep.
on a off day per se after a big game.
Yeah, we had a little walkthrough practice, but it was essentially an off day.
So out of those 425 shots, what are you trying to do in those 425? Are you trying to get the mojo back? You're trying to make sure you're doing the same stuff every time. You're trying to make a certain amount, all that stuff. Like, what do you?
So we have like a NOAA system that kind of tracks everything we do. It kind of gives us live feedback as we
Yep.
shoot, a little bit of everything, depth, left to right, arc, all of it, and then keeps our percentage too. And I always start off with 50 form shots. I use a lot of one hand, single hand stuff. It just kind of gets me to kind of get that power. So when I scoot back and use two hands, it's a lot easier for me to be able to find that. So I always start off with form shots. I know everyone says it, but it really, honestly, form shots is what gets me started. And then I actually shoot a lot of mid range too to really kind of work on the mechanics. And then once I get out to the three, nothing really changes. It's all same mechanics, everything. It's just more legs, more power. It's the way I look at it too. And today was really simple for me. It was just I just kind of went around the arc and did a little just catch and shoot, working on the footwork a little bit. Kind of taking a step or two off to be able to get that 1-2 plant, going in and out different ways. And then once I got back to three, once I got to the end of my workout a little bit, after just doing the catch and shoot, I kind of tried to challenge myself a little bit. So I ended up going like would do 10 at 5 spots. So, and that was to end it. And I had to make sure I got 90% on that. So I finished 45 or 50 before I could be done.
So 10 threes at 5 spots. So we got 45 out of 50, you said?
Yep.
And you had to get that, or you were keep shooting, or what
Yeah,
do
I
you
would
do?
keep shooting until I got it up to the 90%.
So everyone out there listening to this podcast, and you're always asking about shooters. I always say, if you can't shoot, you can't play. And this is the kind of stuff that it takes. And this is coming from a young man in the Big Ten who, just got done playing a game the night before, and he's trying to make 90%. If not, he's going again. That just shows you how much time and the dedication it takes to become a great, really good shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And we can kind of roll into the mental side. Yesterday's game, obviously this is a podcast, so you won't remember when this is if you're listening later on, but played UCLA, Nebraska did. Did not shoot it great from three.
Oh,
I think you were 0 for
0 for 6. Yeah.
I had many 0 for games in my pro career and in my college career. How do you deal with the mental stuff? I'm a big mental guy. I'd like to say that's probably what I do even more so with my pro players and college players is the mental side of stuff, because it's not easy, and you're going to have a lot more worse average days than better days. How do you handle going 0 for 6, knowing that the game before you might be 4 for 5?
I mean, honestly, the mental part of the game is the reason I'm here. I'm not tall. I'm not super athletically gifted. Yeah, I shoot the ball well, but if I didn't have a mental side of my game, then my shooting, I feel like, wouldn't be anywhere near to where it be right now. I mean, going over 6 is tough. I mean, you see those first 4 or 5 not go, right? And then most people, I feel like, shy down. But honestly, that helped me elevate other parts of my game yesterday. I felt like I was able to do a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, which isn't necessarily my strong suit of my game. But, it kind of lit a fire that kind of made me want to do something else to be able to, help the team. And not only that, I mean, being able to see other guys going too, you kind of feed off that. And it helps too when you got a crowd like PBA that was rocking. That kind of gives you juice to just kind of keep going.
For sure. I always ask players, like, do you think about it after the game? You let it decompress for 24 hours, or like, how do you deal with having a game where you might not make a lot of shots? Do you try to get into the gym as soon as possible, or do you just wait till the next morning? Do you play through some of the shots in your head? Do you kind of just like what do you usually try to do if it's a night or day when you don't shoot it to your expectations?
It starts off, I'd go back and watch the game, kind of watch, my feeding or my footing and the way I was turning into shots, the way I was falling out of shots, just kind of the mechanics of it, kind of see that. And then when I was able to go in today to get shots up after practice, that was kind of when I was really focusing on those things to be able to find that rhythm that I had before, to be able to go out and just kind of shoot, how I normally do, and just kind of find that swagger as well too.
Are you a good miss kind of guy? Do you use that terminology in your head at all? Are you a good miss guy?
Honestly, that's what I thought my first couple were good misses, back rim, and I'm like, it's right there, so why not shoot another one that can go in?
I'm a huge believer in it. I I used to be so hard on myself, Connor. I was the guy that would like almost rip his jersey after a game if I didn't shoot it well, or when I got back to the hotel or whatever it was. I was so hard on myself,
Yeah.
and I always tell my players now, if that was the way to teach, I would teach people, hey, go punch a hole in the wall, go rip your shirt, go be crazy and get mad. But it just doesn't work, man. It
Yeah.
doesn't work. And saying good miss, I think, is huge because if you put the work in and you put the work in, you're gonna miss shots. The best shooters in the world aren't making half of them.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to tell yourself, like, all right, this is exactly how I trained all week, how I've trained all month, all year, my whole life. That was a good miss. And if I think that way, I can make the next one knowing that I'm still good to go. Now, if it's all left and right, everything, then maybe my mind triggers something differently. But for how I shot, there was more times there was good misses, way, way more, which allowed me to keep shooting and maybe,
Yeah.
tinker a little something during the game.
I mean, there's something about hearing those words, like with your mind. Like we've done a lot of like meditation and like mental talk with our strength coach and stuff, and we've worked on that a lot. This season more than I've ever done
With
in my
Kurt
entire
Kurt
life. Yeah,
Kurt Joseph, yep.
Kurt does a
Nebraska
great
strength
job.
coach, yep.
Yeah, he's a great dude, great guy, knows what he's doing, and that's been a big part. And honestly, like being able to just like tell yourself those words and hear those words, and like we do a lot of like being able to vision yourself like playing well. Like honestly, just sitting down where we get as a team and do it in our film room, just being able to sit there and like visualize yourself knocking down shots, making the right play, and just being able to tell your brain that it kind of triggers it to be able to do it. So being able to say good miss is kind of just like it's a filler word for it.
The the title of my show on my podcast is 70-30. In the intro, I briefly say I met Kobe Bryant when I was in high school at the ABCD camp in New York, and I was up there for 5 days. The best players in the country, around the world. He spoke to us one day for 45 minutes to an hour. He finished with question everybody, what do you think basketball is, mental to physical? And this is like 2000, 2001 Kobe, so young Kobe.
Hmm.
And I wasn't raised that way. My dad was play against the best, work your butt off, and play your hardest, that kind of stuff. My dad
Yeah.
wasn't a huge mental guy. And when he said that, I was like, I don't know. Everybody's screaming out weird things. And he's like, all right, to me, basketball is 70% mental, 30% physical, and sometimes even more. And that stuck with me, and it's 2025, but it's so true. And that's why I named the show this. But like sitting with someone like you that's a shooter, um, it's true, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's seriously.
the swings up in your brain. I mean, that's it for you. That's it for me because we've put in the work. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Thousands of shots, and if you can't tell yourself and get past that, then what's the point of shooting another one?
what would you tell young boys and girls to say that fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, maybe like middle school, whatever range? What would you tell them if basketball is their thing and shooting is of the most importance? What would you say? Like, make sure you're doing what every day or every week, or it could be two things. It'd be one thing or any. What would you say?
I mean, one, you gotta have fun with it. I mean, with what you do, no matter what you do, I mean, if you're not having fun with it, like you're one, I feel like you're not gonna get better at it. Two, there's just you're not having fun, you don't have a passion, you just can't give your all to something. I feel like, especially in the game of basketball, like if you don't love basketball, then like it's tough to keep playing it at a certain point. So you got to have fun with it, but just kind of getting a young start and getting like reps the right way, the right mechanics is so big. I mean, I was very fortunate to have people that were able to help me a little bit with it. And I'm not saying I had that right away. It was kind of something I learned, and being able to once I was able to change my form to be able to make it, something that I thought is pretty solid and that I can consistently do every time. It really took my shooting to the next level, and that was probably around 8th grade, 7th grade, maybe freshman year, and that kind of started then, and it really just gradually and shot up. I'd say actually probably exponentially, and be able to have those mechanics early, because a lot of kids you see them go out there and chucking up 3-point shots from their hips and all this stuff, and I mean honestly, to be able to have that early is such a big start.
Would you say, because this is what I believe in, but I want to help kids shots. When I started doing my training when I was getting done playing pro basketball, I didn't really mess with player shots because I'd play with guys that might have a little funky this or this. But the more I was around players, I'm like, people don't know how to shoot the basketball. They have, maybe 5 or 6 things that, like, if they keep doing this, it's only gonna make it worse.
Yeah.
So then I really started doing I'd say maybe about 2018, 19 more, I started helping more with shots, and I think it's the most important thing. Like I always say, you can't shoot, you can't play, but, if you can't shoot, I'm not gonna guard you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna break you down combo moves. Well, you can dribble in front of me all day, I'll just move my feet.
Yeah.
But if I can shoot it and you see the percentages, you have to respect my shot fake jab. I'm a big shot fake jab rip guy. That's how you get by people when they have to respect what you're doing. So I think shooting at a young age, the mechanics, not like what would you say? When would you say if you had like a cousin or a son someday, when would you start letting him shoot threes? Like legit shooting threes, not he makes 1 out of 10 because he chucked it.
I don't know, probably
Seventh, sixth, eighth,
middle school around,
middle
yeah,
school.
probably.
So
I
not
mean,
fourth or fifth.
I don't know. I guess it depends how strong he is.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, like, yeah, I'd probably, yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, I didn't even become a good shooter until probably, I mean, 7th, 8th grade year.
Fair enough. We'll we'll transition. We'll get back to basketball and shooting and so forth. You grew up a baseball kid. Um, Explain a little bit more to that for parents and families and kids out there that are multi-sport athletes and the rigors and the grind of the craziness in this world. Kind of maybe in a shorter version, explain maybe the baseball, basketball, and then maybe when you chose the path and all that.
It's tough trying to balance baseball and basketball. I can't imagine. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I showed up to the gym wearing baseball pants that were covered in dirt, and I'd have to run to the bathroom and change into my jersey. And I mean, it was fun. It was fun to be able to do it at the time. So if you're doing it, enjoy it while you can. But I mean, honestly, like, baseball was my number one sport growing up. My dad helped coach a little bit with my team growing up. I was a shortstop and pitcher. I was always, in the field. I loved controlling the game, being a pitcher. I was always around that 3 to 5 range hitting. I love the game. I love baseball. It's way different than basketball. I think that's why I enjoyed it. It was a little bit of like kind of a mental break too. Um, but we got family history that have played in the MLB and done some great things. I mean, baseball's been a part of my life that my dad will still go outside and play catch with the baseball when I go home or we have time for that. But balancing it was tough. I mean, it was back and forth, back and forth. I can't imagine how hard it was on my parents too.
Yeah. When did you make that decision to go the basketball route officially?
Right before high school.
Right before high school.
Yep.
So you stopped baseball completely freshman year of high school,
Yep. There was no more baseball.
mm, which is tough. I try
Yeah.
to tell people go be multi-sport athletes, but if you get to that level where you're dedicated and you have that drive and you have that passion, you're going to choose one because
Yeah.
something's going to fall off. One bucket's not going to be filled like it should,
Yeah.
and then if you start not performing well in one when you know you should, but you're not putting the time in, then it's like, well, I got to choose something different. I got to choose
Yeah.
this one because I can't. not be good at this when I know it could be, right?
Yeah, like for basketball, for me, I loved it just a little bit more than baseball. And that was the deciding factor for me. I loved being in the gym. I could be in the gym all day, every day. In baseball, I kind of got tired of workouts and long practices like that, and that was the main deciding factor for me. And I wasn't as good as basketball, so I had to put more effort into basketball. And if I was playing baseball, like I couldn't do that. It was around, the right before high school time. I was like, I want to play Division 1 high major basketball, and if I was going to keep playing baseball, there's no way that would have been possible.
Who did you play for AAU travel ball wise?
So I started out, I mean, when I was fourth grade, when I was when I was a tweener playing both, I played for Gym Rats Next Level. At that point, I was probably a 5 minute a game guy, come in, just go in, bring a little energy, just scrap around a little bit. And then I played for Team Focus. It's a pretty small program and based out of Fort Wayne, where I'm from. Casey Adams, he was my coach for most of my career there, and we were always. I mean, we didn't. The only other guys that we have that have played, or we had a couple D3 guys, maybe one NAIA guy, and we had a lot of guys that didn't play college basketball. But we were the team that, I mean, we'd go up against some indie heat guys like EYBL teams. We'd pull out some wins. We played in the NY2LA circuit for a little bit once we got good enough and got a little bit of recognition down in the Midwest area down there in Indiana. And then my senior year, I played for Indiana Elite. It was just my last summer going into senior year, and it wasn't something I necessarily wanted to do because I'm a very loyal guy. When it comes to building relationships, that's my number one thing. And I love my team, I love my coach. But to be able to play high major basketball, I needed to play on a circuit at the time, just because we were just we didn't get in front of a lot of different people. And it was kind of a team decision for me to be able to leave and go, and played for Indiana Elite. We had a decent team. We played in a lot of good tournaments, and honestly, I mean, it was probably my last AAU tournament. I started to get high major interest. That was about it, and then thankfully, my AAU coach from Team Focus was nice enough and kind enough to let me come back and play one more tournament with my old team right before I was done. So that was my actual last tournament. So that's kind of how the AAU went for me.
Do you feel that your performance on the AAU circuit was like the crowning whatever of your high school career as far as getting the offers? Like they didn't come from playing the high school ball as much. It was more being on the circuit and playing
Yeah, it was
against better
definitely.
talent, higher levels of competition, and everything.
Yeah, I mean, when we got to the Adidas, the 3SSB like final tournament the last weekend, I mean, that was when everything really picked up for me. I mean, I had a lot of mid-major, low-major interests through high school, through um, just the years just playing, and then kind of once I got to that, we played against dudes like Keontae George, Chris Livingston, those dudes, and I mean, they got every coach in the country watching them, and that was what got a lot for me. That was kind of what blew up.
I try to tell young players that I help with recruiting and NIL, all that kind of stuff. Like, what are you going to sell yourself as when coaches are coming to watch you? And I usually get a weird look from a lot of younger players. Like, what do you mean? It's like, well, are you a shooter? Are you a rebounder and a shooter? Are you a passer? You defend and you pass and you can shoot a little bit? Are you like, you have to sell yourself. And I'm assuming for you, your last hurrah in AAU, like you were a shooter.
Yeah,
So like, hey, that white boy from this, like he can shoot.
yeah,
And like you gotta look at him because you're a shooter.
yeah. That was my sell because I mean I'm not better than any like anything else like in my game. I wouldn't say is at an elite level, but shooting is what the one thing that I feel like I'm really good at and able to sell myself at is just being a shooter. So I mean, if you can't, you got to have at least one thing that you can really put above.
No. And I think that's just so important because players try to do so much. And it's like, man, just do one thing dang good, really, really good, be
Yeah.
great at it. And then other stuff can come from it, rebounding and hustling and all those things, being a high IQ player.
Hmm.
But yeah, just be really, really good, be great at one thing, and that could, and do it on the high level,
Yeah.
especially in the high school, because someone's going to find you.
Hmm.
And if you're connected to the right people, which is also hard to find, but if you're connected to the right people that actually care, like you're going to get seen.
Yeah.
Then it's just a matter of you stepping up on the big stage and actually performing and
Yeah. I
being
mean,
able to do it.
as Indiana elite, I wasn't going to do anything else other than shoot. So I just had to be good at that.
So how do you we can talk Wisconsin a little bit. I know the time here in Nebraska is the here and now. What did you learn? Maybe one or two good things, one or two tough, realization things being at Wisconsin in the Big Ten for 2 years, going through the highs and lows.
Number one for me is to definitely not get complacent. I had a really good freshman year, and I fell into a lot of traps of that. Just kind of mentally, being able to put myself in that position to, kind of think to an extent that it's going to come naturally the next year, and that's never the case, especially in college basketball. And now in the transfer portal world, I mean, dudes every year can come in, and we had that. We had some great additions to our team my sophomore year, and they came in and did their thing. And I necessarily wasn't quite ready for it to an extent, but also distractions. Just kind of being able to limit those. That was something that I really had to learn the hard way. Was those two things. Yeah.
Who was there for you during those times, the 2 years in Wisconsin when you were going through distractions and going through some tough times? Was it your parents? Was it a former coach who was there kind of as maybe your mentor, someone you could lean on for the truth?
A lot of it was, learned hard lessons. But my parents have always been in my corner. I'm very blessed to have parents, like them to be able to, make me the man I am today. To be able to kind of show me the ropes. My parents have learned a lot of lessons in their life too that they were able to pass down to me, and also kind of put faith in my life as well, which was something big that I gained coming here. Um, but my parents were huge in that. My brother, he's a basketball junkie. He loves basketball, so we were always kind of talking about it, and he would kind of give me his 2 cents. And it's a lot easier to talk to a brother when he kind of understands a little bit of it too.
Connor, I'm a big believer in going through tough times. Learning through tough times is what makes you who you are. I've been through a lot. People see, oh, you play pro basketball and you've done these things and you travel and you know a lot of people. But through all that, you got to go through tough times. And I don't know anybody in my life that I respect, look up to, whatever it may be, that haven't gone through tough times. But you can't be afraid to talk about them too, because that's what makes you human.
Hmm.
That makes you who you are. And if it wasn't for me having back surgery and them telling me I probably would never play again, then I played 8 more years of pro ball, I wouldn't be the same man. If I didn't go through, you know, other tough times, being away from family and friends for 8, 9 years overseas, going to college 13 hours away from home, um, living in Nebraska away from everybody that I know. There's so many other things I could go on, but like all those things have made me who I am. And I truly believe it gets back to the mental side, just like with shooting and basketball. If you let those things steer you in the wrong way, I guess, then it could obviously be a disaster and a bad rabbit hole. But if you let those tough lessons, you know, help you grow and learn from them, I mean, I think it opens you up to a whole new world of confidence and being able to do what I'm doing with this podcast and stuff I do in my life with mentorship and all that. Because we could sit here and probably talk for 3 hours off air, and you could throw stuff at me and be like, "Man, Thomas has been through a lot of stuff." But that's why I can talk to him, because he knows what he's talking about and he's been through this, so I can trust this guy. And I don't know. I hope for you, going through the Wisconsin stuff, coming to Nebraska, there's going to be other bumps along the way, you know.
Yeah.
But I hope what you learned from being at Wisconsin. Again, we don't have to go all into the Wisconsin years, but hopefully that's only going to make you a better human, a better mentor to younger kids and your friends and family and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if I would have told you, at the time I thought, going from, I think it was 27 minutes a game and being on the All Big Ten freshman team to playing 5 minutes a game and averaging less than 4 or whatever it was points a game, was the worst thing that happened to me. It quite literally was the best because I was able to come here and find a new love, and find a new, I found Jesus when I came here. I found, I learned so many life lessons of being able to support a team. I mean, how it was so tough, my sophomore year to get up every day and be able to support the guys with the same energy every day. But I found a passion for it, and honestly, it kept me there. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do with basketball, after that, and I didn't know where it was going to take me. And I didn't enjoy basketball as much as I used to, and being able to go through that and coming here, maybe find a new love and joy in it that will never be taken from me now.
So for people to hear, you are happy now, 100% happy that you went through what you did at Wisconsin. You're like, it changed your life.
It changed my life. Whether I score 25 points a game or I don't play again, I found something new and a new. Learned so many lessons because of it.
And you found joy again.
Yeah,
And that's the most important thing. I always say happiness and joy, like happiness is temporary. Joy is, could be forever, that kind of thing.
yeah.
And I think that for you, I mean, that's awesome, man. I'm,
Thank
I'm,
you.
I'm very happy for you. In the faith part, if you want to touch on, because I'm not afraid to touch on those topics. If you want to tap into that a little bit more before we start talking social media and some more things.
Yeah, I mean, the world we live in nowadays, there's a lot of, it's a very sinful lifestyle that gets pushed, especially on athletes. And at Wisconsin, I fell deep into that lifestyle. And, it was kind of, especially with the year I had my freshman year, I had so many different things thrown at me. And, being fresh out of a household at 18, 19 years old, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. And I thought everything was good being thrown my way. And it was kind of a lifestyle I fell down that, wasn't good for me. And it just slowly was taking me and digging me deeper into a hole. And when I talk about, my sophomore year being the best thing that ever happened to me, I feel like it was part of God's plan of being able to kind of show himself to me, and kind of show me and live through the wrong to be able to see the right. And when I got here in the summer, Nebraska was able to kind of help me relax a little bit, find a new start, a new beginning, have all new faces, and be able to kind of put what I had in the past and just kind of leave it there, and be able to move on from it. And when I was here, I found a peace in Jesus, being able to have more time to myself, to be able to have the first time living alone for a little bit in the summer. My brother lives with me now, which is another great blessing that I'm super thankful for. But the summer being able to live alone allowed me to find more time to do other things, and I was able to find Jesus through a series of actions and ways that He was showing Himself to me. That I was able to see Him, and He changed my life completely. And that's part of the reason why, whatever happens, with basketball, with shooting, we talk about the mental part. For me, having a game where I go for 6, yes, it matters, but to me, basketball isn't the most important thing in my life anymore. And so, being able to have Jesus as my number one allows basketball to go way more smoothly because it's not what makes me have a joy in my life. I'm able to enjoy basketball because it's a blessing given to me.
You're not waking up and going to bed thinking about that 24/7.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I'm not saying that basketball's not on my mind a lot because it definitely is, but being able to go to sleep knowing that God's got a plan for me and whatever happens, happens. And if I go 0 for 25 the next game, it is what it is. And if I go 25 for 25, it's all part of a plan that I have no control over.
Respect to you, man. Appreciate you sharing
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
What do you? I think it's kind of maybe going a little lighter tone for a minute or two. 80,000 followers on Instagram, around 60,000 on TikTok, Twitter, and so forth. I know you kind of put a lot of stuff out there for people to kind of follow your journey. What's that been like for you? And maybe we go in a different route, for parents and kids to hear again. You're a stud. You're a star. All these things. And you have a huge following. Maybe some of the negative sides from it that you've maybe had to like learn from on the social media side that you've gotten better with, or if Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, not just the cool things, but, like, maybe some of the stuff that you've had to deal with people that are haters and not good people that are trying to do whatever, take you down or whatever it may be, if that's
Yeah, I mean, having a bigger following comes with positives and negatives completely. It's fun to be able to connect with so many people. I mean, going walking around town, you got people that know who you are, that see you, and then you got people at games, and it's something that I enjoy right now because it won't last forever, and I know that. But also, there's so many negatives that come with it too. I mean, social media after a game going over six like we did the other day. I mean, you get people don't know how many messages you get, about that. And a lot of it happened my sophomore year. I got them all the time. And you
this
just
is from, like, grown adults, kids, everybody, not just
everybody. I mean, you got kids in middle school all the way up to probably dudes that are 60 years old.
they're just throwing hate.
Yep.
Real big time hateful stuff.
Yeah, there's some stuff I definitely won't say on this podcast that I see, but it's something that you got to learn through it. And I'm very fortunate to have parents that were able to kind of teach me right and wrong and be able to kind of flush stuff out. Um, and you just got to be able to put a lot behind you and just kind of focus on yourself.
It's always the tough part of the social. Well, I feel bad for kids, whatever age you want to say, but it's 8th grade, 10th grade, or college that have the social media stuff, but they might not be, which most aren't going to be, a Connor Essegian, a college player, an athlete that has whatever. It's like people out there just trying to find a purpose through social media. They don't really have a platform, and it's like, you know, yes, for every one of the Connor seasons out there, there's 1,000 to 10,000 that aren't you. And it's almost like, see it, view it, but don't, like, dive into it like this is my life, which I think is why people are haters, and because that's all they do is
Mhm.
follow social media stuff,
Yeah,
and they live vicariously through you. And it's like, dude, like, you're not me.
yeah,
I appreciate you doing this, but, like, don't come at me because I was 0 for 5. Like, go have lunch and, like, go take a
yeah,
walk.
yeah. I mean, I post a lot on social media, but it's not even a percent of what I go through every day in my daily life. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. What anything that you want to maybe do through the social media landscape over the next few years or whatever, like anything that you'd want to do with it, with all the followers and all that kind of stuff, if that makes sense.
I love being able to get fans involved and the communities involved. When I got here, I really try and still do to kind of bring everybody together to just interact with the community. Right, right now while I'm here in college, it's such a fun time to be able to have fan bases and environments like this. I mean, because college basketball is one of one. I mean, there's nothing else like it. When you got 18, 20,000 people die hard, and you got hundreds of thousands in the country die hard. It's a pretty amazing time, and I'd love to be able to get more involved, with that, using it, and kind of show people a little bit more of what it's like to be, a Division 1 athlete at this level, because there's a lot of people that don't get to see or kind of live through of what it's actually like.
What interesting question here. What is your daily routine when it comes to eating and lifting
Okay.
for youth, for families out there? Like, you eat 3 meals a day, you have protein shakes. What lifting wise, you guys lift during season 3 or 4 times a week. Off season, you're lifting every day, but one, like, what's that look like?
I mean, it's a little different off season, in season, obviously. I mean, for the off season, it was really intense. We had, like we talked about Kurt earlier. I mean, he's been in the NBA for a reason. He knows what he's doing, and he's here for a reason. And the coaches trust him. We trust him, and the workouts he puts us through are pretty intense. I mean, we would in the morning in the summer when we were kind of doing summer workouts and lifting, basically every day. You'd wake up. It is 3 meals a day, for sure. 3 meals a day. You got to eat. You got to have feel for your body, especially when you're working at such a high level. It obviously. If you're not fueled, you don't feel the same at all. So wake up, eat a breakfast. We'd go in. We'd have, depending on the day, we'd either have team lifts or team practice first or team workout. So we would do that. You know, it was all for us. It's a lot of we had some heavy lifting in the summer, but it's also a lot of basketball specific movements too. To be able to kind of move. I mean, you don't want to lift like a bodybuilder as a basketball player. It just doesn't work. So, you know, we kind of did a lot of that, a lot of different kind of explosive things, dynamic things. And then we'd always do our team workouts. And then a lot of what we do right now, too, is we're working a lot on our balance
In season.
in season. Yeah, we do a lot of balance work because you got to have it ground up, you know, for everybody, especially, I mean, us shooters, if our feet aren't right, it screws up everything else. So we do a lot of that. You know, doing extra core. Core is huge. You know, I've done some extra core workouts with our strength coach. I mean, you're lifting at least once a day. I mean, your protein shakes are huge too. We're blessed. Obviously, we have a nutrition station that makes us specialized shakes every day um, after we lift. And I mean, it's intense. If your body's not right, your game can't be right. So, I mean, for me especially, getting my body right has been a huge part of this past off season.
Which can roll right into Nebraska. What's Nebraska been like to you? Obviously, you've spoken highly of it in the media, on this podcast. Um, I'm assuming you love it here. It's a new life, a new journey, a restart, a refresh. For people out there that don't know Nebraska, I'm from Alabama. You're from Indiana, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't know about Nebraska for real. I didn't know about Nebraska for real until I moved here. What could you say about the university, fan base, whatever route you want to go down real quick with Nebraska?
It's a diehard place. People love Nebraska. I mean, if you're here, you kind of realize because I mean, growing up in Indiana, going to Nebraska, like you play here and that's about it. I mean, no one, there's not a lot of people that pass through Nebraska to stay here for a while. I mean, it's you're either there or you're not, basically. And um, that was something I realized honestly when we played here, my freshman and sophomore year. You know how it is, the fans, the people, the community. Because I thought our game last year was the loudest game I've ever been a part of, and unfortunately, I was on the wrong side of it. But I mean, this place they care about you here. It's pretty amazing. I mean, we have so many people that work with us every day. We got so many different people for specific nutrition, for lifting, for mental health, for you know, we have sports science, which is something that not a lot of colleges and universities have. We do a lot of stuff that pro guys do. A lot of people that work with pros, that have worked with pros, work with us, and we're very fortunate for that. Um, and I mean, our coaching staff in the summer, you know, would work out with us every day. You know, that was new to me, and to be able to use their minds and not necessarily that only, but having coaches then that have been at the highest level, you know, they're very everybody just trying to feed into you to give you knowledge. So I'm going to leave here with knowing so much more than I got here with, and people here care about you, which is amazing.
We'll finish it up with two things here. Talk about maybe the next step in life when your college days are done, and then maybe a little bit more about shooting and some fun questions. What is Connor Essegian 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I know it's hard to do, but where do you see yourself? What are your goals, aspirations, all that kind of stuff? It could be playing pro ball. It could be being whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to be playing then for sure. I want to drag this out as long as I can. It's something that I love, and also gives me a platform to be able to kind of talk about spread. You know what I love, what I like to do, and it's something I'm gonna enjoy as long as I can. Because not everybody gets to do it, and being in it, you know, you kind of realize how fortunate you are to do it. So I'd love to keep playing as long as I can. And other than that, I'm not sure. I mean, I know I like social media, so I might get into that a little bit more when I'm done playing. But honestly, I'm not quite sure. Other than playing basketball,
Nothing wrong with that, man.
yeah,
Talking shooting. We talked about the balance that you guys are working on in season at Nebraska and the Big Ten. I'm a big feet guy. Obviously, we talked earlier. You might have your feet a little turned. I'm more squared. But I always tell players it starts with your feet. If your lower body isn't right up top, it doesn't matter. What Are you a 1-2? Are you a left-right guy?
I am left,
Left,
right.
right. And
Yeah.
you're a righty shooter.
Yep.
Same with me. I'm a left-right guy. Do you feel the only time I go right-left is if I'm coming off a screen a certain way because I have to, that's quicker.
Yep.
Do you feel super awkward when you have to shoot it right-left? You just feel off balance or no?
Not anymore. I used to. I definitely used to. It's something that I tried to work on a lot.
So just
Different
just
footing.
repetition, game speed reps.
Yeah, yeah. And even when I'm shooting the gun too, I'll even mix up instead of just catching it left, right, like I'm used to. I'm mixing it right, left every once in a while. Kind of throw it off to kind of be able to match that and kind of be ready for it when it has to happen. Because I mean, game basketball is so quick, and as a shooter, you got guys flying at you left and right. Like you can't ever, kind of tell. I mean, you have to be able to adjust, and so it's definitely not the same, but it's something I've worked on a lot to try and even it out.
You have a quick release. You get you get your shot off quick. How much time do you think you've put into shooting? Just to like, because I can say it all day long to people and this and that. Like, how many hours do you think you spend a week just shooting? Well, take away practice for 2 hours with the team
Yeah.
during season. How many hours do you think you put in shooting either with somebody, with some people, or on the gun?
During season,
Which is tougher. Everyone knows that
yeah,
it's
it's
tougher.
definitely different. With travel and everything, probably 5 hours at least, just on my own. And that's just me getting shots up. Off season, I mean,
Could be 20.
yeah, I wish I could tell you. I mean, we were in the gym a lot. And for me, I mean, growing up, the reason I'm such a good shooter was because I grew up into middle school, like in high school, all throughout high school, I'd get up 1,000 shots a day.
1,000 shots a
1,000
day.
shots a
Every
day.
day?
That was almost every day.
Almost every day in high school.
Yeah.
And that was shoot 1,000 or make 1,000? Shoot 1,000.
The gun we had at the gym that we were very fortunate to use was the Police Athletic League, our AU team. It was old, so the counter didn't work. So I would just shoot 1,000, but now that I'm able to, it's more makes. You try and count makes.
Game speed, purposeful shots. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
If you're not doing purposeful work, if it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, 10 minutes of game speed. I mean, even if you're just catching and shooting, just being able to get it up quick and work on your footing quick. And because as a shooter, like I probably got my last open shot. I'll shoot the rest of the year yesterday. And 10 minutes of that is better than 40 minutes of more shots, not full speed for sure.
Hopefully, people listening are going to listen to the shooting part uh, in detail if that's what you're really hoping to be, because I'm sitting here with one of the best shooters in the country. Real quick, we'll have a little fun. We'll get out of here. Favorite NFL team?
Grew up a Colts fan, but
Ooh, brutal.
I know. I can't say I'm a big sports pro fan of like teams right now. I just kind of like to watch.
Okay. Favorite college football team growing up?
I was a Wolverine,
Ooh,
Michigan. I know.
wow.
I know. My
Interesting.
mom's from Michigan, and as soon as I came out the womb, I think she put a Michigan hat on me, probably. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I had no other option.
Favorite TV show, series?
I've never really been a big movie, TV show guy.
What do you watch?
I mean, basketball. That's about
Okay.
it. I mean, usually a lot of what I do now is either I watch basketball or I'm editing videos. if
Yep.
I'm if I'm
No, 100%.
downtime or playing video games with some of the guys. So when I'm on, that's usually most of what I do on a screen. Honestly,
Favorite food? Italian, Mexican, Chinese, Americana,
orange chicken is probably my favorite.
orange chicken,
Orange chicken, yeah,
white rice, fried rice,
white rice.
white rice.
Yep, it's awful. Panda Express orange chicken is my favorite.
That's your guilty.
It's my guilty. Yeah, I found out I had to limit that a lot. Yeah.
Favorite candy. I'm not a big candy guy, but I'm sure the younger generation likes candy a little bit more.
I'm a little bit. I try to not, but I was always the cookies and cream or cheese bar.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll end with this. What would you want to tell young players, boys and girls, that are trying to chase their dreams, that might be a little undersized, that might be questioning their purpose? What would you say to those players out there?
You definitely have a purpose. You can do it. You really can. I mean, roster says I'm 6'4". I'm definitely not 6'4". So, I mean, you can. I mean, if you really put your mind to it. I mean, when I started out basketball, I was an awful shooter. Now, I feel like I can be and am one of the best shooters in the country. And you put the work in. Like everyone says it sounds cheesy, but it's true. It really is true. If you put the work in, you can do basically anything you put your mind to.
I'd like to thank Connor Essegian from Nebraska, sharpshooter, one of the best shooters in the entire country of college basketball, for being on the podcast 70-30 with Thomas Viglianco, and look forward to following him the rest of the season and hopefully many seasons up here at Nebraska in the Big Ten. So, Connor, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. It was good. It was good talking.